Welcome to this week's Money Fit Live webinar. My name is Todd Christensen, Education Manager, author of Everyday Money for Everyday People and 50 Plus on Fire. Today's topic, we are talking about the source of money problems. What are the causes? If you can know the causes, then you can start addressing and developing solutions. But sometimes we just talk about causes, why we have money problems, as if we know what the reason. But there really are just 9 reasons we're going to go over, 9 causes. So, as I mentioned, if we can identify the cause, we can then identify the challenges. We can call them problems, but they are challenges. Some of the symptoms, if you want to talk about some of the symptoms of these problems, if there's a lot of debt, if there's homelessness. Homelessness is not a financial problem, it's a symptom of a problem or a challenge, as we noted. Anxiety, distress, these are symptoms. Poor credit scores. So let's go ahead and talk about the 9 surprising problems, real life sources of money problems. Number 1, no purpose. What does that mean, no purpose? It means if we go through life without a reason to manage our money better, then we will be living paycheck to paycheck and be one medical emergency, one short period of unemployment away from things like massive debt and even potentially homelessness. So it's if we don't know what we want to do with money, if all we want to do with money is spend it, that's not a purpose. Okay, so if we don't have a goal for that, we're not driven by goals to handle our money, then guess what? We're among the 60 to 80% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck or worse. We just think money is just there to spend and enjoy, and that's great. Enjoy your money, but make sure it's going to your top priorities. The idea of living paycheck to paycheck, living for today, you only live once, whatever, we're driven by impulse. It doesn't get us anywhere financially to avoid the problems that the consequences of financial problems. So, no purpose. Set goals. Determine what you want out of life that requires money, and focus on that. Number 2, you already know everything about money. Now, that's not the case for most people. Most people admit there's a lot that we can learn about money. But in my time as a financial educator since 2004, doing 100 to 200 classes a year in everywhere from elementary, middle, and high school and college to businesses and nonprofits and corrections facilities and just a wide variety of conferences and so forth, there are always some people that already know everything and that they don't need to listen to anything that somebody else has to say. In a class, they're the ones that are got their eyes folded and they don't want to pay attention, and you can tell that they don't want to be there. If you already know everything, keep doing what you're doing then. Most of us, we recognize that we should be lifelong learners. It doesn't have to be formal education. It can be informal. Whether it was our parents growing up, or mentors, or in school, or just self-reading. Have a curiosity for how money works. Don't be afraid of it. There's so much information out there about how money works. Just start. Just type in your search menu, learn about money or money for beginners. Start there. There's always more to learn. And if you keep learning, yes, you're going to make mistakes. But as a good book that my 15-year-old teenager was reading in one of his classes, it's okay to fail as long as you fail forward. Learn from that mistake. You're not going to, life is not going to end. Make a mistake with money. Ideally, make mistakes with small amounts of money better than huge amounts of money. But make mistakes, it's okay. Learn from it and move on. and build on it. Number 3, yes, insufficient income. And now I am not talking about people who have acquired so many bills that they can't afford to save, or they believe they can't save, because they have subscriptions for everything under the sun. They have not just utility bills, but they also have their music subscriptions and their media subscriptions. And they have a huge average car payment, which as of 2021 is over $550 a month. That's average. Okay, that's ridiculous for the average household to be spending what amounts to probably 20% of their household income on a vehicle. And for some households, if they have two average expenses, two average car payments, over $1,000. So I'm not talking about households who have built up way too many obligations. Insufficient income is, I'm talking about those who have no income, unemployment maybe, and trying to deal with that reduced income that way. Or those who are have a low income as it relates to the household size. Can an individual live on minimum wage? Probably can survive. You're going to have to share a room, going to have to share an apartment, not going to have much of a vehicle and so forth. But you can survive. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the individual who is maybe working on close to or at minimum wage and has 1 or 2 or 3 dependents or more. That's insufficient income. So please, this is not an excuse for somebody who is making average income, median income in this country, which as of 2021 is about $70,000 nationwide. It varies by state, varies by region, of course. But I'm not talking about the person who has good income, but has just obligated every penny of that to go somewhere else every month. And so they believe they have nothing to save, nothing to do, and so they feel poor because they just have no money to put into savings or investments. That's not insufficient income, that's over-obligation, which is number 4. You've over-obligated yourselves, too many bills. There is a difference between somebody who is low income and cannot afford the basic necessities, and somebody who has low or decent income and has all these extra services because everybody else has them, and so we think that's just the American way. You have to have cable TV, right? In an age where you can get online subscription services for $15 or less, there's still 60-70% of American households are paying for cable or satellite TV. And again, I mentioned the average car payment. You don't have to be average. Okay, so if this problem, this challenge particularly faces those households, those individuals who have not ever stopped to think and differentiate for themselves what their needs are, their survival needs are, and what their wants are. Now, I go into second grade classes, and second graders know this difference. And somewhere between second grade and the time we become responsible adults, we totally forget this. Second graders know that there are only 3, sometimes 4 physical survival needs that we have as a human species. Housing, shelter, food and water, and it's not transportation. It is some amount of protective clothing. And a 4th might be some medical procedures or medical assistance or prescriptions. There's going to be a huge percentage of people who are going to be yelling at me right now, "Hey, idiot, you need a cell phone in our society now. You need car transportation." You need those things if you want to be like everybody else, yes. But if one human being can survive without it, it is not a survival need. And the reality is there are many people, many households living without wheels, they don't have a vehicle, and living without a smartphone, believe it or not. You don't have to have it. And so if your income doesn't allow you to have a smartphone and save and build, then you are prioritizing. If you buy that smartphone anyway, and you pay for a TV, then you have decided that that is more important than taking care of your future needs in case of a medical emergency or a time of unemployment. Take a moment to look at your expenses every day, every week, every month, and just ask yourself, which of these are my wants and which of these are my actual physical survival needs? And then which of these wants, because there's only a few physical survival needs, and which of these wants are priorities? Not all wants are created equal. I would put transportation and communication, the cell phone, up near the top of the wants. But if you are having a hard time affording transportation, and yet you have all these other wants that you're paying for and obligating yourself to every month, it's time to revisit that. Now, I'm not saying everybody is like this. People who are in this situation know if they stop to think about it, they will have to accept that that's the reality. Because nothing will change until we accept that something has to change. So, hard truth for a lot of people. And for those who aren't in that situation, I'm not talking to you. So don't get mad at me. Overspending, number 5. Overspending is it's different than over-obligation. Over-obligation is those monthly bills that come in and there is just nothing left at the end of the month or in the middle of the month or the beginning of the month to spend on anything because everything is going to bills. Overspending is you have money in your checking account that you know is not going to bills, and so we go and spend it on frivolous, on impulse, on splurges. Okay, we feel entitled to eat out, so we eat out because everybody else is doing it, or we order in now, right? We feel entitled to spend every penny because we work hard for our money and we want to enjoy it, and life is meant to be enjoyed. So YOLO, right? Keep going with that mentality and see where it gets you in 5 or 10 years. You only live once. Every dollar you make, you can only spend once. So where are you going to put it? Make sure it's going to your top priorities. Spend your money on things you love, but just make sure you've identified what are the things you love most. Overspending, number 5. Number 6, relationships and the problems that they can cause in money. Now, this specifically, we're talking about maybe a spouse or a partner who is, you're not on the same money page. Maybe you're going through or about to go through a divorce or have gone through a divorce. That can cause some major financial problems. A lot of people are surprised to learn that divorce is the number 4 reason. It's the 4th most common reason people go through bankruptcy. Because especially when you start talking about getting children involved and custody and attorneys now involved, massive bills and problems, and then some cases you get into revenge spending before the divorce happens, and one soon-to-be ex-spouse is spending because they don't care anymore. So, but even children, maybe the relationship between the parent and child and trying to spend and please that child and give them whatever they want rather than taking care of your own needs. Relationships can cause financial problems. If you have this issue with a spouse, here's the solution. Make sure that you are on the same page. How do you do that? What are your mutually agreed upon goals that require money? Do you have things that you want to do together that will require money? Do you want to buy a home at some point? Note that. That is a mutually agreed upon goal. Do you want to go on a vacation next year? That's a goal. If you get to the point that you don't have any mutually agreed upon goals, that's not a relationship. Okay? Make sure that you are talking about what is it that you want to do together or that you will need money for, and focus on that, and put your focus and your energy into achieving that goal and putting money aside to save for it. Number 7. So you're not prepared. So speaking of putting money aside, you have no savings account, no emergency savings, no savings for short-term goals, no long-term investments, no insurance, no risk management plan, so that if the car is in an accident or you're in an accident and cause damage to somebody else, or you get in an accident, you need medical attention, or you get sick and you're out of work for 2 months, 3 months, you don't have any kind of backup for that financially. So save, put some money into emergency savings. Put some money into short-term goal savings. So if you do want to go on that vacation we talked about, don't just plan the vacation and go and put everything on credit cards. Plan ahead, put money aside. Crazy as it sounds, that there's multiple studies that show that the most enjoyable part of a vacation is actually planning for it and preparing for it and anticipating it. You get more excited about being on vacation than you actually do once you're on vacation. Plan for vacation. Put money aside, and you'll enjoy the vacation that much more. Make sure you have appropriate insurance, health insurance, car insurance, and homeowners or renters insurance, that you're prepared. Everybody hates insurance. Everybody hates insurance except insurance salespeople. But everybody hates insurance because it's the one thing that you spend money on that you don't ever want a return on. It's money out the door that you hope is for no other reason than it's going out the door. Because if you do have to use insurance, it means something bad has happened. So everybody hates insurance, but take care of your insurance needs. Number 8, addictions. This is one that does not get discussed often enough. This can be drugs. It can illegal drugs or prescription drugs. It can be tobacco. It can be alcohol. But it also can be gambling and lottery. People spending $100 a week on lottery tickets when they're only making $2,000 a month. That's 20 to 40% of their income going just to lottery tickets, and they're not going to win the money. Every once in a while they'll win $5, $10, $20. And you know what people do when they win that much money? They say, I don't want that. Just give me more tickets, because they don't want $20. They want the $1 million. Who knows? Someday it will be billion soon. But you're not going to win that. So it's a money out the door with hopes that you're going to get it back, but you're never going to get it back. Somebody's going to win, but it's not going to be you. It's just not going to be. So that is an addiction, and you got to come to terms with it. There are people who have spending addictions. Shopaholics, you call them. It's not a cute name because it's a serious issue. People who put their self-worth into what they own or what they buy, and they get a rush out of it, just the way a drug addict gets a rush out of injecting themselves with something. That's a problem, and it needs to be dealt with professionals. And there are gamers that are addicted. Oh my goodness. It sure seems like for those of us who are parents, it seems like 90% of teenagers are addicted. Fortunately, that's not the case. But if somebody is stealing and lying and doing whatever they can to get more game time, that's an addiction. That's different. Okay, so addictions. Seek professional help. Okay, because financially, it's destructive to yourself and to those that you love, that you live with, and that are around you. Last one, number 9, disabilities. Okay, and I put abilities there. I would like to call it diffabilities. They are different abilities, right? Love that. I love that idea. Okay. Whether it's a mental illness or whether there are some developmental issues or disorders, this can cause some major problems financially. It's hard to manage your money in many cases with mental illness or with developmental disabilities or with bipolar, for example. And I've met with people who have had that disorder and talk about how frustrating it is not to be able to control that manic phase. And yet at the same time, on the other end, anybody who's going through depression, whether it's an actual mental illness or just anxiety, so forth, which can also lead to overspending. Again, look for professional assistance on this. These kind of challenges, they're going to be long term. You're going to need to find some solutions through proper channels, whether it's finding medical help to deal with the development, with the disability, or whether it is getting somebody to help you manage your money, whether it's a daily money manager. There are people that do this for a profession, that they will manage your money. And they'll do this for people who have lots of money, wealth, basically helping them figure out how to pay their bills so they don't have to worry about it. But they can also do it for people who need that assistance. And one place I often recommend is the American Association of Daily Money Managers, AADMM. Just look them up, find somebody in your area. We obviously are not saying that you can that's not a recommendation or I shouldn't say recommendation. We have not vetted any of them, but that's a great place to start. Do your own research. Make sure you're talking with the right people and making sure that they are qualified. There you go. If you would like to learn more about this topic or any other topic on money, we've done a lot of webinars over the last few years, a lot of YouTube videos. Find us on YouTube. You can go to moneyfit.org/live, and you'll find an archive there of our past webinars. You will also find more on this topic at moneyfit.org/blog/more money, more problems. And there's hyphens in between, more-money-more-problems. Okay? Learn more about it. Find some help. Get some assistance, and understand that the real source of your problem, so you can address and come up with real solutions. For MoneyFit by DRS, my name is Todd Christensen, author of Everyday Money for Everyday People and 50 Plus on Fire. And I thank you for joining me today. Look forward to hearing from you if there's anything we can do to help.